Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. My guest today is former clinical and stage hypnotist Jeremy Pope, who now helps entrepreneurs build scalable high-ticket sales departments. He has been a top salesperson, sales manager, and sales trainer for international businesses, and now he and his team help smaller business owners repair broken sales methods. Now, that certainly sounds like an interesting story, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Welcome, Jeremy, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
This should be fun. Jeremy, why did you become a stage hypnotist in the first place, and how did you go from being a stage hypnotist to building high-ticket sales departments?
You know, I haven't had anyone ask me why I became a stage hypnotist, but it's a very easy answer, almost a boring answer. I was already a clinical hypnotist, so I got into that for memory improvement for myself. I was 21. I don't remember exactly. So this would have been 2001, and I started doing self-hypnosis to improve my memory because I was forgetting where I put everything. And it worked in 3 or 4 days. And so I started using it for some other stuff as well. And that worked as well. And then I started doing it with other people. And then I started really training and charging for it, and built a kind of half a career around that for 10 years. And so stage hypnosis was it was kind of a natural outflow of the clinical side, because I was already doing the hard part. So now we just add some clowning around on stage to it, and ta-da. So
that's an interesting story for sure. I mean, it's incredible what the mind can do, or what you can do with the mind, right?
It's amazing. We were talking about NLP a little bit before we started recording, and I was mentioning how out of practice I am with some of these techniques, but there are so many things that you can do when you have the right toolbox available to you. When you break things down to the level of the 5 senses, and you can really get into the mechanics of your head and the mechanics of your prospect's head or your spouse's head, and you can really help people make lasting change quickly. That was revolutionary for me. That was just absolutely mind-blowing, and a huge influence on my young adult life. I mean, it's affected the way I've grown up in business in very significant ways.
Yeah, it's so fascinating how each and everyone just processes information slightly differently and stores information differently, and how you can learn to access those files or rewrite those files. This is just amazing. It never ceases to amaze me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you became a sales manager of a team that made 1.7 million per month in revenue. And yes, people, I say per month. So that is pretty impressive. And I'm curious, what do you think? What skills or maybe personality traits make you such a great salesperson?
Well, you know what? I don't consider myself a great salesperson.
Tell me more.
I feel very blessed to have stumbled across systems and techniques that do the emotional heavy lifting for me so that I don't have to be great. I consider myself a pretty average salesperson when left to my own devices. I need a fair amount of structure around me to be really good. I don't perform really well when I don't have good structure. We could blame that on ADHD. We could blame it on any number of irrelevant things, but the fact is that I need structure around me. And so and I find this is true with a lot of people, especially the founders who are on a mission. They tend to be givers. They tend to want to give something to the world and to share a gift. And a lot of givers have trouble when they're starting a business with sales because they have learned taker sales processes. And so it's not a natural fit. And they feel like there's something vaguely wrong just in the back of their mind at all times with these taker sales processes. And at the same time, they feel like they have to use them because they won't sell anything unless they use these taker sales processes, high pressure sales, things like that. And so when you give a giver sales process, boy, that's a lot of repetition there. Sorry about that. But when a giver has a giver sales process, then they can feel natural about it, which improves their close rate immediately. And I found that for myself, and I found that for all my trainees. Sometimes someone who finds the natural fit in their process, it's frequent that they will double their close rate or triple their close rate or raise it by 50%. And that's just because they found a fit. And then you teach them effective techniques for building the vision with your prospects, because a lot of times people need help building a vision and exposing the pain. We don't build pain, we expose pain, and we expose the fear of pain, and we give people clarity around that. You'll notice I use a lot of visual metaphors. I'm very visual about this stuff. But building desire, I get mixed up sometimes, and reducing fear of risk. Those are about the only things you can do on a sales call. And so when you have good structures to do that ethically and as a partner, when you have that collaboratively, instead of feeling like you're in a boxing ring trying to dodge and weave and avoid the objections and not get knocked out by this aspect of their questions or that aspect of their mindset. When you can have a dance partner instead of a poker opponent where you're trying to hide your cards, it makes things so much easier. And I'm just fortunate to have stumbled across these things that through so many great sales trainers that I've encountered, and through NLP, learning to listen properly.
I love that.
That's what makes it simple for me. That's what makes me any good that I am good.
I really, really like that, because the right strategy, or finding a strategy that fits, is so important. The other thing I've noticed, though, is that a lot of entrepreneurs not just have a problem with the strategy they're using, they also have a problem with receiving in general. Like, as you said, they are givers, and they just haven't trained the receiving muscle, if you want. They still feel bad about receiving. So I think it's always a matter of working on yourself and trying to figure out if that's maybe holding you back. That's one piece of it. And then, as you said, also finding the right strategy that helps you overcome this issue. But I think there's always these two things at play when people really, really struggle with this. What are your thoughts?
100%. Yes. The internal beliefs that we have around, in NLP, we talk about the Dilt's logical levels. So when people confuse beliefs that should be at the behavioral level or the environmental level, even with beliefs that have kind of crept their way into the identity level, and they have created an identity around acting a certain way without examining whether that way of acting is healthy or not for this phase of their life, for this phase of their business, for this role that they're playing inside their business, it can be very maladaptive. It can be very just tremendously destructive and self-sabotaging. So addressing the self beliefs and your beliefs about money and your beliefs about what's the value that I give the world and your beliefs about, am I allowed to receive? One of the structures that I found really useful around that is the Karpman drama triangle. Do you use that structure in your practice ever?
No, tell me more about that.
Oh, it's so much fun. So Chris West has a great book called Karpman Drama Triangle Explained, KDT.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the best book on KDT that I found. But the Karpman Drama Triangle is persecutor, rescuer, victim.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
we choose it's from the transactional analysis stuff. And we occasionally choose to play these roles of persecutor or rescuer or victim. It's not that we are that. It's a behavior that we run occasionally, not an identity level thing. But when we are in rescuer mode, it can be very difficult to receive money. It can be very difficult to receive value back from the world because we're trying so hard to rescue others and be their messiah, to be their white knight. Some people call it white knight syndrome, things like that. That because we're trying to stay out of the victim positioning, we're so afraid of being the victim that we move to another unhealthy point on that triangle of persecutor or the rescuer. And that rescuer can't receive. That rescuer it's just as ineffective as the victim mentality. And we block reception when we've chosen to play rescuer in that moment. And so being able to move out of that and recognize when we're in that and say, oh, nope, I'm going to stop. This is not healthy. I'm going to move to, some people say the healthy versions of those 3 points are challenger instead of persecutor, coach instead of rescuer, and creator instead of victim. So if you find yourself easily in rescuer mode, which a lot of givers do, then pop into coach instead. You're not here to solve their problems. You're here to give them the motivation and just enough information so that they can start to solve their problems. And a lot of times that's going to look like paying you $15,000 or $60,000 or $2,000 or whatever your price point is for this phone call or this sales page or whatever method you're using to sell. But we're not here to inform people on a sales call. That is not our job. Our job is to give clarity so that they can make a healthy decision. And that is a very different proposition than let's info dump all over people. Let's word vomit all of our technical specifications on our prospect, which is just overwhelming and kills the sale and creates confusion. The confused mind says no.
Yeah. So true. I love how you explained that role. That's what I call the martyr or the savior.
Yes.
When I discuss these these roles with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what does the anatomy of the perfect sales call look like? Do you tell us more about the structure that you follow and how much do you customize or improvise?
Sure. I improvise more than is healthy. So I have to put additional structure around myself personally so that I'm not over improvising. I don't believe there is such a thing as a perfect sales call or the perfect sales call. There are plenty of perfect structures for you. I'm really big on customization. James Muir has a book called The Perfect Close, and it's a good one. He has good structures around this stuff. David Sandler in the 1980s came out with the Sandler method, and it's perfect for some people. The Challenger sale is perfect for some people. There are a lot of different structures that can be perfect, but I always will advocate flexibility and customization. The structure that I use, we address the structure based on the funnel that my clients are using. So it has to fit your funnel. But there are a few things that I've found to be pretty consistent. So a few principles, if you will. One is I use what I call the elephant in the room technique. And this is, if I know my audience well enough, and you should if you've made 20 sales, you should know what your audience's main objections are going to be. If you know they're going to need to talk about this, are you going to try and out-clever them? Well, I don't think that's wise. I think that's the playing poker against someone kind of mindset, or playing your cards close to the vest, not showing them your cards until it's time. A very easy example of this is around pricing.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah. This is a universal thing. I mean, is there anyone that's going to buy something without knowing the price first? No. In certain luxury markets, people will buy things as long as they know they can afford it, and they don't really care about the price. But this is more once you get into impulse buy territory, when they just know, oh, this is not a problem. We're not talking about someone picking up the check at dinner without looking, or putting their credit card on the tab before looking at the bill, so we're talking about non-impulse buys, things that matter, things that are probably going to financially matter to this person. They care. How dare you try and ambush them with the price and pressure them to decide with 3 minutes left on the phone call? I believe like sometimes this stuff rises to the level of an ethics issue. And a lot of us, this is one of the big taker processes that I see in the online marketing world and in the online coaching world. I work mainly with agency owners, course creators, and experts, and SaaS founders. So I call them ACEs. That's kind of my crowd these days. And there are so many sales processes that are taught that are all about kind of out clevering someone and finding the right word track to use to nullify their standpoint, or to try and invalidate their perspective, or it's a very Nurse Ratched, one flew over the cuckoo's nest kind of approach to selling. And why would we start a relationship based on techniques like that? So,
it's terrible, isn't it? I mean, there's so many people out there teaching that you don't tell them the price until the last minute, and it's like,
right.
It doesn't.
And that's how I learned in this field as well. I mean, I taught that until I learned better. But I just knew there was something wrong. There's something wrong here. And so I just kept gnawing away at it until I found pieces and, discovered pieces, through my own sales calls that showed me a better way. But so here's one application of the elephant in the room technique. So if you know they're going to talk about it, why not talk about it with enough time left to problem solve together?
Mm-hmm.
That's the core concept here. Let's be transparent. Let's be vulnerable even. Let's collaborate instead of pushing against each other. Why don't we pull together against the problem? We're pulling together to move a problem down the road to whatever metaphor you want to use, but it's collaborative. We're dance partners. We're pulling a load together. We're whatever. So you need time to do that. You need conversation time to be able to collaborate. This is not about the first person. You state your price and then you shut up. The first person to talk loses.
Yes, I've heard that before.
Yeah. And it's true. It's true. If you're using that adversarial mindset, then you are going to have a winner and a loser of the interaction. Maybe not the whole relationship, hopefully not, but the interaction, like they've lost to you. You've out-clevered them. You've beaten them. You've been stronger than them. There's so many unhealthy metaphors available there. But
terrible. It's just terrible.
So here's a technique that I teach. I call it the price up front technique, and it's one application of the elephant in the room. But you can use this elephant in the room concept for any topic that you find difficult, whether it's your delivery time, or whether it's a lack of testimonials, or whether it's a price, or whether like whatever is difficult for you emotionally as a salesperson. I would recommend considering using the elephant in the room technique. Everybody that uses this, they come back to me and they go, oh, I used it and it's great. It was so much easier. These sales calls, like I had certainty, and it builds certainty on the sales call. So here's how it goes. Will you role play with me for a moment, Claudia? Will you be my prospect?
Okay, go.
Okay, cool. So I'll talk about a real price point on a real product that I have right now. It's our sales team a day. It's a power day where we put everything in place for a sales team. And okay, that's the background. So you as a prospect, you want to build a sales team. Mm-hmm. That's your character. So I will say something along the lines of this. And it comes out differently every time. But Claudia, by the way, all sales trainers have to start role plays with saying the person's first name. That is how you can tell you're in a role play, is I have said your first name. It's unavoidable. It seems to be an emotional crutch for a sales trainer. So we all start with that. So Claudia, I am not the world's smoothest salesperson. I'm a sales trainer, but I have systems that do the heavy lifting for me. And I get weird about all kinds of stuff. I am feeling weird about money right now. I didn't have any caffeine today, and so I'm feeling weird about money. Do you mind if I just tell you my price right now at minute 4 of this call, and then we can spend the next 41 minutes figuring out if this is really a fit? Is that okay with you?
I'd love that.
Okay, wonderful. So that's part 1 of the technique, and now we go into part 2 of the technique. It's $18,000. Right. Thank you. Now I can relax. So you can have sticker shock. You can run away screaming, etc. But thank you for letting me get that off my chest. You need to run away screaming. Should we even keep talking? Like, is that even in range if everything else fits?
What options can you offer me to make this work?
Okay, let's make sure to talk about that. What options in what way?
Do you maybe have a price, like a payment plan?
Got it. Okay, so I'll keep that in mind as we explore, and we'll figure out what could work. This will give me time to think about that. And scene. That's the whole thing. Now, that was the most complicated version of that I've done in a little while, because you asked a very specific question. And this was a perfect example. So when you do this, a lot of things are happening psychologically. And remember, this is at minute 4 or minute 6, like way toward the beginning of the sales call. So if someone says no, then you have a marketing issue. You have a lead qualification issue. Like, there's a good chance you should not have been on the phone call with that person in the first place. Right. And we can address your close rate issues. We know your close rate is lower than it should be if you're getting a lot of no's at that point in the process. And so we need to work on your lead qualification. That's not even inside the sales call, but marketing and sales should be tightly woven together. So that's what happens if they say no. Then you know you've got either someone who is not real good at keeping their word because they've just given you a commitment to stick with you for the rest of the call, and then they're saying, no, it's not worth talking. So this is someone who may be so mercurial that they're not going to succeed in your program. That could be a flag for DQ, disqualification. Mm-hmm. Or if they say no, then you're letting people in who don't have the resources. Your marketing isn't working properly. That's another DQ right there. Or if they say no, just because they have sticker shock, then you know what you've got to engage with them on. You know what you've got to deal with together. You know what you're going to have difficulty with. If they say maybe, or some version of maybe, like you gave me today, these are the more complex ones. Like, what about payment plans? What about this? What can you offer me? That's the one where it's most tempting to go off in wild directions and start giving info. Oh, well, we have payment plans. We have this, we have that, we have the other, but that's not useful. It's okay. Let me be thinking about that. Okay. Let's try and figure that out as we go. I've done a payment plan before. Let's see if that could be appropriate but keep it minimal. It's just a little bit of reassurance that you're hearing them, that you're on their team, that you're pulling together against the problem, that you're going to collaborate on that problem as well as whatever other problems come up. And it puts you on the same team. Like, it feels good from the beginning. And I am like, when I go on podcasts, I have to work very hard to be high energy on camera. I am a low energy dude. Whenever somebody compliments me on my style, it's always like, oh, you're so soothing. You're so calming. I'm like, that is not what I was going for. I was going for high energy excitement, but I get the soothing and calming thing a lot. And so, okay, let's lean into that. But this does not have to be any kind of way. I mean, I sound a lot higher energy on a podcast than I do in a sales call. But this works whether your energy is flat or whether it is very excitable. The affect doesn't matter much as long as they feel really heard, as long as they feel like you see them and you hear them and you get where they're coming from and you have empathy for them and you're going to address everything. Like it's okay, we will definitely get to that sort of approach. Right. And it sets you apart from 92 to 95% of the other salespeople out there, because you are being so upfront, so honest, so transparent. You're making yourself and your process so vulnerable to them by telling them up front. It demonstrates a lack of fear and a comfort level with your own process, with yourself, with your company's delivery system, with your marketing, with them as a prospect, that it just sets the relationship on a totally different footing than the let's try and out clever each other. And the person who handles the other's objections, the person who rebuts the other's arguments best is going to win. It's such a comfortable and strong foundation for a client-provider relationship. I'm getting distracted here by some of the psychological pieces of this, but here's a couple of other things that it does. You've gotten two commitments in that technique. One is yes, I will stick with you for the next 41 minutes after I hear the price. So it's not even a micro commitment. It's a yes, I will stick. And then you get to gauge whether they're going to keep their word on that, I will stick. And then you say again, now that you've had your chance to have sticker shock at the beginning of the call, is it worth talking? Are we in range? Should we even keep talking? Like some version of that. If they give you a maybe or a no, you're going to have to deal with some things around price or a DQ issue. If they say yes, you are 60% closed at minute 4 of the call. I mean, that's the biggest one, because you're both going to be so comfortable with this from now on. So now all you have to do is make sure that the value is there and checking in with them over. Okay, so here's what I think I'm going to show you. Is that going to be worth the value? Like, you can do all kinds of stuff from that point, but making sure that you get buy-in in stages as you go to each piece of value that you're discussing together. That's the important thing. And if they're bought into the price, like, okay, this price is reasonable, we can make that work either in payments or not. And I need the thing in the first place. Okay, well, if that's out of the way, then it's just, does this provide the return on solution? I don't talk about return on investment so much, except peripherally, but the return on solution, like, is hitting your values, is hitting your goals, is getting out of this pain, is creating a return on investment. Are all those things worth that dollar figure? I mean, yeah. That's the rest of the call, and you have 41 minutes to do it. So it's very collaborative, as you can see. So that's one example of one of the techniques that I found is very tactical, but it kind of illustrates a lot of different mindsets in the way we do sales and makes things natural and easy. It's so natural. Like, there was nothing weird about that technique. It was just two humans having a very simple 1 minute conversation. And that's the psychology that goes into it.
That was amazing. And I love that so much. It's collaboration over, like, trying to outsmart the other person, as you said.
Yeah.
But now that you have the foot in the door, so to speak, so you said we're already 60% sold.
If they say yes, if they say maybe, then it lets you gauge how sold they are. But if they say yes, you're 60%. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say they say yes, and we're at the
Mm-hmm.
60% mark. Now, what can go wrong after that? Give me some common mistakes for the rest of the sales call.
Yeah. You can talk too much.
Okay.
Talking yourself out of a sale is probably the most common mistake that givers make. Maybe all salespeople, but I think it's the most common mistake for givers. We want to give people enough information that they have everything, and they don't need everything. They don't want everything. They want enough data to feel confident, and they want enough feelings to feel something. So what we're dealing with here is go to the five senses, join them in their metaphor of this issue. Everybody's got different metaphors for the world. If somebody says, I'm stuck, Claudia, what's going on in your head if you say I'm stuck? Like you're an NLP on an NLP level, like build the scene for us. What is Claudia being stuck?
Not quite sure what you mean now.
So sorry. Is this primarily an auditory thing, a visual thing, a kinesthetic thing? Like, how do you experience the word stuck?
For me, it would be kinesthetic. Like, I would feel stuck. I would feel like claustrophobic. I would feel like I'm in a tight space. I can't get out.
There we go.
That kind of thing.
And as NLP practitioners, this is one of the most important things that I learned, and part of what we teach in our $1 Million Ear process. But learning to hear what people are actually saying. If somebody says I'm stuck, I might guess that they're in a hole in the ground and they need a ladder to get out. But if I guess at it, I'm going to miss Claudia's version of stuck. She's feeling in a tight space.'s feeling hemmed in some way. Like if I imagine the word claustrophobia, I feel it on the outside of my arms, and it's a very like uptight kind of thing, almost like I'm in a tube or something like that. That's the scene that I build in my head. But that's not what I feel like with the word stuck. Typically, I'm thinking like either a hole in the ground that I can't get over to out of the top of the hole, or I'm thinking like feeling like sticky, glued to something along those lines. So giving yourself enough question time and enough space to listen for what someone really means when they say something like, I'm stuck. This is mega powerful, and you will not hear it if you're just trying to move through your script and you're trying to talk. If you're trying to get your point across to someone, you're not trying to listen. You're trying to talk. You're trying to express yourself. Sales is not about expressing yourself. It is not about giving them enough data. It's about putting them in a healthy activation mindset. You're moving them from the world of calculation and analysis into the world of action and imagination. Those two things are sometimes mutually exclusive. It's a rare person that can be high analysis and high action at the same time. Those usually go in stages. And so when you get someone into the world of imagination with you, and you fully explore the imaginative elements of the problem, the vision, the risk that they're concerned about with working with you, the fear of risk of working with you, all you can do in a sales call is build desire and reduce risk, or reduce fear of risk. Those are the only two things that happen. Everything else is just details used to accomplish those things, or irrelevant things that shouldn't be happening on the sales call at all. It's not sales if you're doing anything but those two things: build desire, reduce risk. And so we talk way too much, like I'm probably doing right now, and we talk ourselves out of sales. That's the biggest mistake that I see.
That's great, because I mean, after all, sales is an emotional thing, right? As you said, it's about building desire and overcoming fears, because what we usually do is we buy based on the emotions that we attach to whatever the offer is, and then we use logic just to justify the decision
Yeah.
we've already made.
Yep.
So, and if
It sounds trite to say it, doesn't it? I mean, everybody talks about that factor, but we would never have an impetus to rationalize the thing in the first place if we didn't have an emotion that triggered the rationalization. So whether we rationalize ourselves in or out of the thing, it's emotion that triggers the rational thought process there. It doesn't happen without the emotions beforehand. So 100%, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I read that you became the client success director for traffic and funnels. Now I'm curious. Can you share what your favorite high ticket sales funnel looks like, and what strategy or maybe combination of strategies currently works best for driving traffic to those funnels?
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Favorite
I don't know that I have a favorite. It's one of my highest values in the world on the Strengths Finder exam. The assessment is individualization. So I really value customizing things per each person. So I think a lot of it depends on the founder, like their role in the business and what stage the business is at. I have built or helped build maybe 200, 300 funnels, something like that, and then advised on a lot more these days. But there, things have changed a lot, and so just tactically going from a Facebook ad to a webinar opt-in page to a webinar, and then to an application for a sales call, and then to a sales call. It used to be relatively straightforward to do that, like 2016 through 2018. And now getting leads through that kind of system in a lot of the semi-online marketing industries, those leads have sextupled or octupled in price. It's no longer cost effective. Like you can't make that work without a significant content ecosystem around that as well. So, I mean, I don't really think of it in terms of what's my favorite, because it's just whatever's working right now. So there are a few criteria that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I was just laughing because everyone says the same thing. It's just that the strategies that used to work just a couple of years ago, they don't work anymore, and they don't work for high ticket sales.
Right. So I'd say they don't work in the industries that have been saturated. Any marketing technique that saturates a particular industry is going to lose effectiveness quickly. And so it's not so much that any technique can or can't work. Are a lot of people using it recently? Like, are they saturating this particular industry with this particular method or technique or funnel or whatever? And if there's a lot of it going on, it's going to get way more expensive to put leads through that, to put qualified leads through that. But if the founder is early stage, where would you say? So the audience, would you say most of them are doing? No. Okay, I can speak to this. So if you're doing under $1 million a year in your high ticket coaching business, for instance, then it is very likely that you're going to need to trade on your own celebrity as a founder. So finding a method that works for you to build celebrity, that's going to be very high leverage at the beginning stages of business, like in the micro business arena, sub $1 million a year, things like that. You've got 8 team members or less, that kind of thing. You're still a driving force as the founder. And it's very likely that you have to be very public. You have to be the face of the company in a lot of ways.
Right.
Some people riff easily. I riff easily. I like being with a person. I like podcast interviews in particular. And I drive people back to my website from podcast interviews. And that's our funnel right there, is our resources page. And then other people, they need to write because they do not get comfortable on camera, no matter how hard they try. And so I think a lot of the funnel stuff, it depends on what your personal strengths are. And I'd say there are a few resources to go after on that. There's the Wealth Dynamics from Roger Hamilton at Genius U. I love that one.
Yeah.
There's Working Genius from Pat Lencioni, the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and all those bestseller books. That's a great one. The Strengths Finder assessment, Clifton Strengths, it's called sometimes. It's a $25 book you can get it on Amazon, and it has the assessment code in the back. Your Myers-Briggs type. Everybody loves to hate on Myers-Briggs, but it's been really useful. All models are false. Some models are useful. So let's use what we.
It's great. Yeah.
I love Myers-Briggs for
Me too.
certain things. Yeah. And then do you have charisma in a certain way? I don't have a lot of charisma on a sales call, so I let the system do it for me. I have enough weird experience in my background. Like being a hypnotist is almost like cheating for publicity purposes because it's so weird. It's very easy to get on the air. It's very easy to get interviews and stuff like that. I use this, to get on the radio, doing segments on the radio when I was a hypnotist back in 2002. So if you've got the ability to generate really unusual or controversial hooks for publicity's sake, then you can go the publicity route, and that can be your top of funnel. I do believe that we are in an era where you have to have significant content going to have effective funnels, unless you just have tremendous reserves to get your ads working properly. But I will say that always content like starting a podcast, or guesting on podcasts, or writing a book and then guesting on podcasts. There are any number of ways to do that. If you have a content ecosystem to support, at minimum, support your regular funnel, your paid ads funnel, then you're going to drive your cost of leads down. You're going to drive your lead quality up. You're going to waste a lot less time on the phone for are these the right people to be talking to? There are any number of things that make a huge difference on that. So a decent funnel of any structure that is supported well by a content ecosystem, I think that's as specific as I could get right now.
Okay, gotcha. Content marketing.
Yeah.
Pay attention and find a strategy that works for you and your personality. Even though, I agree with that. But that said, I used to hate public speaking so much. And then I became a podcaster, and now I love it. So things can change. And
you can change. You can grow in any of these areas. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just give it a go and see how it goes.
Yeah.
So as a great salesperson, you say you're not a great salesperson, but I think you are. So I'm curious as to what you enjoy when you're on the customer side. So what have you invested in, say, within the last year or so that really created a positive change in your life or business?
I've invested in, everybody's done a bunch of avatar work. Like any program starts with that, and there's a reason for it. It's absolutely foundational. So anything that helps me understand my audience better and helps me get back in the mindset, I am not creating an avatar. I don't get to do that. I get to discover and uncover there's no such thing as an average client. I don't get to make up who my client is. I get to choose who I work with, but they're people. And so, a program that helped me refocus on some of the ways that we destroy false, unhealthy beliefs and we build healthy beliefs in their place. That was a great investment for me this year. Another one helped me learn how to structure joint ventures better. And I have so much fun around joint ventures, and not just list sharing, but hey, let me come in and run your list for you for a week or two, kind of. I've got the salespeople already, so let's let's make a 50-50 deal, things like that. That's a lot of fun. And learning how to do some like micro business acquisitions, things like that. That's been really fun. Oh, I'm having some power issues. I may drop out here. I apologize if I do.
It looks good on my side.
Okay, good.
Hopefully it stays. We're almost done. Now that 2022 is coming to an end and soon we'll start the new year. Are you someone who believes in goal setting? And if you do, can you share some of your exciting goals for the new year?
I am writing a book in the new year on vision and goal setting. So yes and yes, that's a 2-in-1 answer.
Love it.
I love goal setting. And I believe that if goals are not written out, then they lose 90% of their power, at least, maybe more like 95% of their power. But you have to have a way of keeping your goal in front of you and the other stakeholders in that goal, in front of you and your team regularly. Or all you've got is, okay, we had a meeting.
Yeah, so true. Now, last but not least, where can our listeners find you online if they would like to learn more about you or connect with you?
Yeah, salescalloverhaul.com/resources. That is the place we put all of our links and resources on there. We've got several free things, and we link to these personality assessments as well, so that you can get there from here.
Fantastic. Jeremy, thank you so much for sharing all those really, really helpful tips and insights with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Take care and talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Before you go, I'd love to invite you to an amazing event that I will be co-hosting in January. From January the 23rd to January 26th, my friend Dr. Ron Kaiser and I are going to host a global virtual summit on habit change and high-performance habits. This event is designed for ambitious professionals who want to optimize their performance in all areas of their lives and businesses. The idea is to really help them create momentum and give them the science-based tools, techniques, and strategies that help them live happier, healthier, and more productive lives. We have an exceptional lineup of expert speakers from all around the world who will cover a broad range of topics, from overcoming addictions to how your beliefs create your reality, to how to improve your health through optimizing your breathing, or how you can gamify your habits to make them stick. Most of our speakers will also be available for a live Q&A after their talks, so if you want your question on habits answered by a leading expert, make sure you join us live. Follow the link in the show notes to get your ticket now. I can't wait to see you there and help you make 2023 your best year yet.